Kurok! Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture, my first live stream of 2026. Oh, remember like when it was sort of weird to be in the year 2000 for all us old farts who, were like born in the 70s or 60s. It was, the year 2000. Now it's like we're 26 years past the year 2000. It's like, what the hell is this shit? This is crazy. This is nuts. Anyways, how's everybody doing? Hope it's been a good year so far. It's already been an interesting year so far. I could not sleep Saturday night. Brain wouldn't stop, Read a book, just doing everything. I'm scrolling around at like 2 a.m, and that's when I saw the whole, hey, Lady Wendelin. That's when I saw the whole Venezuela thing, and it was like, hey, well, that's interesting. I wasn't really expecting this. Obviously, I'm not going to get into any of that stuff because we don't do really do the political stuff here on this channel. But all I will say is I hope everything works out well for Venezuela, for the people down there. Hope things improve dramatically from where they've been. They almost seems like they'd have to at this point. But yeah, it was just sort of like and it was way down. I'm on Twitter, X, and I'm in the the For You side, where it's stuff that people you follow, but also other stuff kind of mixed in. And I mean, I was scrolling for a good long time. It was way buried down there. I think some of the first reports went out a bit earlier than when I saw them, but I had to go quite a ways before it popped up. And it was a retweet from a chef, strangely enough. And it was kind of like, wait, what is that? Is that something old? Is that new? Oh, okay. Man of War 665, neighbor of the beast. What's cooking, man? How's it going, sir? Hope you're having a good 2026 so far. Good to see you. So anyhow, yeah, so there was that Venezuela thing. And then also didn't get any sleep New Year's Eve night, New Year's Day morning, whatever, because we had people setting off fireworks and it was freaking the dog out. And before that, I had a child who was freaking out about Stranger Things and praying that certain characters didn't die. Yeah, it's funny. So like, I don't get a lot of traction on Twitter. I mean, really don't. So every once in a while I'll have a tweet that'll do, like get a lot of views on it or what have you. And I had just tweeted something about, what did I say? Something like, it's just something about my daughter watching Stranger Things. That was it. There was nothing to it. It was wasn't saying anything about the show, and there's nothing to it. And I looked at it like a couple minutes later, and it was like 650 views, for, again, I'm like more in the 20 view range on things. I was like 600. Oh, it's just because I said Stranger Things. It had Stranger Things in the title. So it got out there, like I said, didn't go much further than that because I didn't really say anything, but I think she was overall, satisfied that, characters she liked didn't get, but, yeah, it seems like she thought it was a decent season, but not like a mega great season or anything like that. I never got into the show, so I deeply didn't give a crap one way or the other what it did. But, I always hope people have a good time with those sorts of things. So we got a new year, and that means various things going into the public domain, which is kind of the little topic I thought I'd talk about a little bit today before we get into some new acquisitions and some coming attractions. um, every year we get new things going into public domain. It's something I paid attention to back in the day when I was publishing role-playing game stuff, because obviously I was smallest of the small press. So, I did commission art from people for things, but I also used public domain art because there's actually a ton of really great fantasy type art in the public domain being produced in the, 1800s, especially when you get into the late 1800s and the very early 1900s. So that kind of got me looking at public domain stuff at one point. So it's something I kind of pay a little attention to. So what's interesting is we're starting to get some stuff in the public domain now that really is foundational to like 20th century American pop culture. This is the big stuff is starting to show up finally. And I think it's kind of important based upon the fact that a lot of the owners of these copyrights, and bear in mind, they also still own the trademarks, which governs exactly how much you can use these things or in the way in which you can use these things. But the owners of a lot of these copyrights are producing crap with them or are using them for propaganda oftentimes now. So it's kind of, important that these are starting to move out to public ownership, because that's what public domain means. Like the cartoon Steamboat Willie, I own Steamboat Willie now. All of you folks out there, definitely who are Americans, you own Steamboat Willie. We have as much ownership of Steamboat Willie as Walt Disney does, the company. So we can do with it what we please, one way or another, which unfortunately means some people make horrible, horror movies out of some of these things. But it's kind of a big deal when these things start to move into the public domain, because, it does mean people can screw with them and do, dumb crap. People can merchandise them. That's competition for the old copyright owners. Now they got to compete with other people who might have better ideas than they do about merchandising. That can take a dent out of what they're doing. People who actually love these characters can start using them in stories and cartoons and movies, or making adaptations of books and things like that. And sort of like undo some of the damage the old copyright owners were doing to them. I see I got a lot of stuff going on in the chat, so I better look over here before it goes too far. Man of War says, I'm the odd man out. I utterly loathed Stranger Things season 4 and noped out back then and have made it this long without Twitter. So I got this a double win. Yeah, I kind of dumped. You know what? I actually jumped on Twitter. I had been on Twitter a long time ago when it first sort of showed up, just to try it out and play with it. And I used it for a little while, and then I just got off all social media. I jumped back onto it because I was doing the YouTube channel. So I thought, well, it's at least a way to get word of what I'm doing out there a little bit. And also it was because Musk had just bought it, and I just wanted to see what happened, because of all the reactions and the craziness. I just wanted to watch. So I stayed on it because I can promote stuff. And I've met some cool people on X, some people I'd call friends. So it has actually been useful. The trick is you've got to curate the hell out of it. I probably mute and sometimes block maybe up to 10 to 20 different accounts a day. If I'm seeing dumb crap that I don't like, and a lot of it's political, I mute it. I go through the one thing and I see stuff I'm not interested in. I mark it not interested. If I see politicians, greasy little politicians showing up, I don't care what party they're in, I actually block them. Do I need to block them? Nope. Why do I do it? Just makes me feel good. But I mute a lot of nonsense, a lot of dumb stuff, a lot of angry, ugly stuff. And as a result, I got a pretty good feed. Most of the ugly stuff I see now is if I go to the For You tab instead of the Following tab. And obviously, look, I'm not, it's somebody, somebody I follow, I like, maybe says something that annoys me. It's like, whatever, I don't care. I let that go. But it's these like people, where did they come from? Some are probably bots, who knows, spreading ugly stuff, saying lousy things about people. It's like, mute, you're gone. I don't want to see you anymore. So as a result, it's actually works out pretty good for me. But I get where you're coming from. I see Ramey in here. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, sir. Boop, boop, boop. A lot of hellos. Okay, a lot of hellos. Raimi says YouTube and Discord, that's it for me. Yeah, yeah. The Pooverse has potential. It does indeed. Old YouTube and email yeah, I got that. Yeah, exactly. So Twitter's the only social media I do at all. But again, I curate the hell out of it to make sure it's what I want it to be. The one that I kind of miss, honestly, is Google Plus. I kind of miss Google Plus. You could set up different circles of things you're interested in and who's in them. And you could send things out. So if you wanted, like I had a role-playing game circle, there's a lot of old school RPG stuff on Google Plus. I don't know why, but it hit there. In fact, the first time I ever heard about Stranger Things was on Google Plus because they had the D&D stuff in the, in the little trailer. And so a lot of people on Google Plus were like, oh, check this out. They're talking about old school D&D, which tells you how long ago that was. But Google Plus was pretty cool, So if you wanted to do a lot of political stuff, you could set up your political circle, and people who were interested in it could be in that circle, and you could push that stuff that way. And then you could talk about your role-playing game stuff to the role-playing game people. And that way you didn't see stuff that you weren't interested in, and it didn't cause all that much friction. But they couldn't monetize the hell out of it, so it went away, and that's the end of that. But it was right around the time it was ending, I think. It's close to that is when I jumped on Twitter, I believe. Anyhow. So back to public domain. So entries this year from 1930. 1930 stuff is not the whole 30s, just 30 is going into public domain. So that includes books like The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, The Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. So that's a Miss Marple mystery. The Little Engine That Could by Waddy Piper is now going into the public domain. You got 9 new Mickey Mouse cartoons. The first week of the Mickey Mouse comic strips are now public domain. 10 new Silly Symphonies, and of course a few other cartoons. You got films like All Quiet on the Western Front, King of Jazz, Cimarron, Animal Crackers, which is a very funny Marx Brothers movie, Soup to Nuts, which introduced the earliest incarnation of the Three Stooges, The Blue Angel. You got songs like I Got Rhythm, but Not For Me. They're writing songs of love, but not for me. Georgia on My Mind. Dream a Little Dream of Me. Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight, Having a Wonderful Time. On the Sunny Side of the Street, Just a Gigolo. You're Driving Me Crazy. And a very famous recording of Sweet Georgia Brown, the Harlem Globetrotters. Hey, I got the pennant back there. So why does some of this stuff matter? Well, dude, okay, so Dream a Little Dream of Me, song from 1930, becomes a big hit for Cass Elliot in the 1960s. Just a Gigolo from 1930 becomes a big hit for David Lee Roth in the 1980s. It puts material out there that can be worked on and adapted by artists who don't have to pay any royalties on it. You can start now showing, All Quiet on the Western Front, like on YouTube, without any restrictions, which can broaden the reach of, some genuinely good pieces of art out there. You can make an adaptation, for example, say a comic book adaptation of The Maltese Falcon without having to pay any royalties on that. So if you're a good artist, but maybe you're not a great writer, you can work on adapting that book and turning it into a graphic novel to show off your art skills and things like that. And of course, play off of the characters in it as well. So I thought I'd look at some of the stuff, other characters that are coming into public domain right now. So starting with a couple that are already there, we obviously have Mickey Mouse. Yeah, and the first year he becomes available, it's just like Steamboat Willie. That's it. But now we have more and more cartoons with Mickey Mouse that are going public domain, which opens up more aspects of that character that you can play with. You got the Saint, you got Popeye, you got Buck Rogers. So that's all previous. But coming up over the next 10 years is some huge pieces of American pop culture. The 1930s was very foundational to the pop culture that we live with to this day. Although some of these not as well known now as they have been. But some of the things that we're going to look at are still very, very viable to this day. For example, Mickey's dog Pluto. He's not called Pluto yet, but he will be soon. Betty Boop. Now, it's a very early incarnation of the character. But again, over the next few years, the Betty Boop that everybody knows is going to be out there. And let me tell you something. The Fleischer Betty Boop cartoons are some of the best cartoons you're ever going to watch. They are just weird. They're bizarre. In fact, her opening cartoon is pretty weird and bizarre too. Nancy Drew. I think the first 4 Nancy Drew books are coming in there. And they were doing, movie versions of those not that long ago. You got Blondie. You got Sam Spade. You got Dick Tracy coming in. The Shadow. Conan the Barbarian. Doc Savage. King Kong is going to be this next decade coming into public domain. You got Lassie. And think what that can do for family filmmakers can start making Lassie shows. You got the Lone Ranger. Perry Mason. Donald Duck, who I didn't put a picture in apparently. Flash Gordon. Oh, there's Donald Duck. I got him in the wrong order. Nick and Nora Charles. If you've never seen the Thin Man movies, they are freaking great. Philip Marlowe. Mr. Moto. The Green Hornet. The Phantom. Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are soon going to be in the public domain. And of course, Superman and Batman and Captain Marvel. Now, Batman, by the year after, you're going to have Batman, Robin, the Joker, and Catwoman. That's a pretty good set of characters that you could work with. And Gotham City will have been part of that now. Metropolis, it's going to take a little bit, about a year for Superman to actually be in Metropolis, but that's going to be there. Just think about, once you start going into the early 40s, Captain America, Wonder Woman, the Human Torch and Submariner, the Flash, Green Lantern, Spectre, Dr. Fate, holy mackerel. You can build a comic book universe on these characters. Now, you got to be careful with trademarks, but there's ways you can do that. But you can start building a comic book universe using some very well-known characters and go off in your own direction. And I think that's what's going to be interesting is you're going to be able to start building stuff with these characters that is probably better than what the old copyright owners are doing. You could sort of reboot a lot of these characters, not in a let's make some money sort of, cheap way, but sort of like, okay, we're starting over with Superman and with Batman. We don't have all this baggage of the last 20, 30 years of sometimes iffy writing or iffy choices or 400 different weird reboots. You can, all that stuff's gone. And now you're working with the characters in a more pristine sort of format. And think about it, you could do crossovers with them. You could do crossovers with Batman and Dick Tracy. You can get the Phantom in there. You can do some really amazing stuff. Now, again, this is over the next decade, over the next 10 years. So it's not all happening all at once, mind you, but a big portion of America's 20th century pop culture that's really getting abused right now is going to start being opened up to other people to do great things with. And I think that's a good thing. Let's check the chat here. Boop, boop, boop. Man of War reached out to from a guy from the F&T circle to do a Gronyard stream back during the WotC. Oh, yeah. His health issues derailed that. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, the funny thing with open game license, because that's the stuff I was producing, and it's still there, I could transform it enough. You can't copyright game rules. You can copyright presentation. And there's certain things you can and can't maybe argue are yours. A lot of stuff was borrowed, by Gygax and those guys in the first place. So they might have a difficult time really standing up and saying, this is ours. But you can transform it enough to just get completely off OGL. But OGL was really important, I think, in rescuing Dungeons and Dragons from the choices made by Wizards of the Coast at a certain point. And it's kept a lot of that stuff more viable than it otherwise probably would have been. So it is interesting, yeah. Oh, you were lagging 5 minutes behind. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it, man. Google Plus, Ramey says, I missed two. I wrote blogs for Game Informer website, and it was the only way I could talk to programmers I knew. Interesting. Oh, yeah, so many bad horror. Yeah, and there's going to be, he did use a gun, but like, he didn't use it much. You know, like in my Batman Year One, it's funny that like people always go back to Batman and it's like, he was initially a really dark, grim Avenger. That was the original Batman. And then like you got this goofy stuff that Adam West did, and you're going, okay, the first year of Batman, he's kind of grim, although he also is facing some really weird supernatural stuff that's not like street level crime at all. He does kill a couple people, but primarily he just like ducks out of the way and they end up killing themselves kind of stuff. It's not like he's setting out. But by the very end of the first year, Robin the Boy Wonder shows up, and you've already got the sort of Silver Age looking Batman, like pre-Carmine Infantino, being created, where he's smiling on covers and he looks a lot happier. And that version of Batman then runs for like about 25 years. So you get like 1 year of kind of grim, 25 years of really stuff that feeds into Batman from 1966. The 66 Batman, some of the episodes are based on comic book stories. It's actually a pretty good adaptation of the Batman that existed for a long time. And then as you went into the 70s, that's when it started becoming more like a dark pulp character again, sort of based off the Shadow, you know, with folks like Denny O'Neil and Doug Minch and those guys. That's when he starts making that transformation. But of course, if you start reading like in the 80s, like that's Batman. That's who he is. Really easy to ignore. There's a huge chunk of Batman that was kind of goofy, honestly. I mean, I love a lot of that stuff, but yeah, he did. And that's the thing. You can take your Batman in a really interesting direction. You can start creating your own villains for these characters too. Because if you remember, other than Batman, who gets the Joker fairly early on, and Catwoman, although it's a sort of different version of Catwoman than maybe we're used to. Not super different, but a little different. And then he soon picks up, you know, Scarecrow. Penguin is in there pretty early. Clayface, the original Clayface, they're making a movie, kind of a movie version of now. Who's the other dude Riddler shows up briefly, very briefly for a while. The Cavalier actually shows up a lot in the 40s. He was there for a while. Firefly is in there, but he starts accumulating a lot of weird villains. Took Superman longer. He got the Ultra Humanite, who was like a bald old mad scientist. And then he got Luthor, who had hair, but he was a mad scientist. Captain Marvel gets Sivana right from the very get-go. So he's got his mad scientist. But like super villains like we think of with Spider-Man, you know, the Fantastic Four, it took a while to generate a lot of those characters. So you could come in and start rewriting your Superman mythos and introduce some, you know, superpowered villains that are yours. That'll be the interesting thing to me, is that like a lot of foundational things are not going to be owned by DC anymore, or Marvel to that extent. And you'll have access to those, but you can start creating your own stuff that they don't have access to. So if I invent a dude called, you know, Power Lord to challenge Superman, I'll own Power Lord. He's a new creation. He's mine. You know, DC can't use Power Lord. So if somebody comes up with a great villain, they'll own it. And nobody can steal that from them, even though other people can still be using Superman and Batman. So it'll be really interesting. Oh yeah, Hugo Strange. He was right in there from the beginning too. Yeah, Black Bat. Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was sort of a ripoff. Although, midway through the first year of Batman, you get Gardner Fox in there. For whatever reason, he's starting writing stuff. And that's when you got Batman going up against the vampires / werewolves. You got the whole weird thing going on in Paris with the flowers with human heads. You got the dude in the Zeppelin with firing death rays. It's very Gardner Fox. Yeah, it was kind of amazing to me because I always heard like of what Batman was originally, which is why I did that Batman Year One thing. So I'm like, I want to actually read the books, like what was going on. And it was not really what I expected. Batman was a lot weirder of a comic strip than Superman was. And I think later on now we think of Batman being grim, dark avenger of the streets, fighting street crime and all that stuff. And we think of Superman more fighting like cosmic threats and all these weird things. When it starts out, Batman is fighting weird threats. Superman is going after, corrupt landlords, corrupt politicians, stopping a war in South America. He's actually going after more street level sort of crooks than Batman was. It's a weird thing. It's fun to read those. I got Year One of Captain Marvel coming pretty soon. I want to say few weeks. So I just did the Doctor Strange Year One. So Captain Marvel's the next one. I got that recorded. And right now I'm working on Guardian and the Newsboy Legion because I wanted to see how he compared to Captain America, both being Simon and Kirby creations and obviously very tied to one another. Guardian has the shield and, does the same kind of stuff that Captain America did in his books. But it's fun to go back to the originals and look how the character, is formatted initially, because some of these characters have been around long enough that you got so many different versions of them from different artists that they're really weird. At any rate, that's kind of my little spiel on public domain. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunities here over the next decade. And I know Mark Miller is preparing for Superman and Batman going public domain. He's got plans already, he said, that he's putting things. Now, he's got a ways to wait, but he wants to already get stuff set up. So he's going to take advantage of it. No reason other people can't as well. All right. New arrivals in the Den. Turn that off for a moment. So this is one I backed a little while ago, and it showed up a few days ago. And I finished reading it today. And that is David Hartman's Monster Drive-In, Isle of Evil. Now, Monster Drive-In is a series of books that he's doing that are basically supposed to be like lost B movies, horror movies, of course, that he's going to be presenting to you. This is an ad for them. And I'm like, dude, the Hunchback of Naughty Dames, I pray is like the next one. I pray. Oh, my aging bladder. So I pray the Hunchback of Naughty Dames is the next one that he does. But very fun book. He has a style that's sort of similar to Brian Baugh's Wolf and Batsy. And I remember discovering both these artists on DeviantArt back in the day. So this guy here is like our horror movie host. He's, it's like the Crypt Keeper, basically. And so Isle of Evil is about these women going to this island for some kind of a party that's happening. And they got the guy who owns the boat is named Captain Pickles. And here we get Captain Pickles. You can take a look at him. And so they're going out to this island, and they get attacked by this horrible, horrible monster. It gets gory at that point, so I'm trying to if I can skip a little bit of the gore so I don't get attacked by the censors. But so they get attacked. The boat is destroyed. They end up on this island. Captain Pickles had been there in the past. He brought a couple scientists there who wanted to study things, and things went really, really badly, really sideways. And of course, they start going really badly as soon as they get there. You got all sorts of weird monsters, headless freaks. You also get these great ads that they've recreated. Monster-sized monsters, mini sea zombies, Samba Dancer Monster is one of my favorites. This was another good one. I opened right to it. With the $35 man, make money, get prizes with fast-selling black market organs. So it's that kind of stuff. Yeah, Charlton had a good run too. But it's good. I liked it. I had a good time with this. I've already backed another book of his, which wasn't Monster Drive-In. It's called War Monster. It's like a zombie Conan or something. But I like his art style. The book, it's funny. It's gory, but it's cartoonishly gory. And what I liked is it's very much, he's trying to duplicate like a B movie from the 70s or the 80s, you know, with the dialogue and with the way it goes. Really fun stuff. It also came with this this mask you can cut out. So I guess I'm good for Halloween next year. We got a couple. We got some stickers. We got some cards, things like that. Really, really cool stuff from David Hartman. So you want to check that out. Like I said, he just did another Kickstarter with, I think it was called War Monster. My brain is giving out on me. I'm still exhausted, I swear. But also, do you notice I got like a spit curl going because it has been rainy here in Las Vegas. Not rainy, but rainy in Las Vegas for the last week. So whenever it gets real humid, my hair starts getting kind of weird and curly. Raimi, I wish Universal Studios went through with their Universal Monster World War II run. Yeah. You know, one of the weirdest things, I was making, this is just the kind of stuff I do to entertain myself. I was making a timeline of Universal Monsters, like, you know, in story timeline. And, you know, you kind of go, well, this one is set in this year, and then this much time passes. So this one should be set in this year. The weirdest ones are the Mummy movies, which, like, the last of the Mummy movies they did is probably set technically in the 1970s or 80s, even though it just looks like the 50s still, or maybe late 40s. But at any rate, all of the stuff they have that's set, that would be set during World War II, World War II is never mentioned. There's never any sign of it. And it's like, most of them are taking place in Germany, maybe Switzerland, Austria, that area, into like Transylvania. And you're going, a lot of fighting going on in all those places. But it's weird how somehow those movies just kind of ignore World War II. Like they're in their own little universe where none of that stuff ever happens. But that would be a cool series to do. It's all about getting it right. That's the biggest problem I think they always have, is getting the stuff right. The artists nowadays intrude too much on the art. I also received this week a gift from my best friend who lives over in Holland right now. And this is something he found in a little shop, but it is a Fantastic Four comic in Dutch. It is black and white art, and I'm looking forward to really going through it. So there, Crystal and Quicksilver. Interesting. Just kind of reading we got Thundra in this one. The black and white art's actually pretty darn cool. Look at that. Boom. Yeah, I want to sort of dig in and figure out which issues this is sort of covering. Ultron 7, Dizal de Wereld Regeren. I cannot pronounce Dutch, so I know I'm not doing any of that right. I took some German in school, but never Dutch. And then I grabbed a few books from the comic shop. I grabbed just a few back issues for series that I'm trying to fill in. Little Action Comics Weekly. I'm trying to get the Blackhawk stuff they did. The Blackhawk stuff they did in Action Comics Weekly is really awesome. Grabbed a Brave and the Bold with the Atom. Grabbing some Batman comics I used to have. I thought I had the entire Cloak and Dagger first, not the limited series, but the first. And I was going through all my boxes, and I'm like, I didn't. So I grabbed that. So now I do. And another issue of The Champions. Yeah, the weird thing is, like, if you know German, Raimi, then, I don't know what year it is yet. I haven't looked. God. If you know German, you go, well, I mean, Dutch is probably kind of like German, right? It really isn't. Let's see. Copyright 1974, copyright 1976, which just looking at the art, I could kind of figure that out. Let's see. Jerry Conway, Rich Buckler, Classic Selector. Wow, there's a word in here that looks like they just threw a bunch of letters together. Udgeversmatschlappy. UITGEVERSMAATSCHAPPIJ. That's a word. Man, that's like trying to read Irish and Welsh. Anyhow, so not a lot of new stuff in the den right now. I got a couple things that are coming, a couple other comics I backed, but the Monster Isle I was really looking forward to, and I was not disappointed. Loved it. I'll keep backing David Hartman for sure. So let's look at some coming attractions. Again, there's not a ton of them right now. I think they're kind of easing into the new year. Now, I talked about these last time, but one of the figures hadn't been revealed yet. I think it was revealed while I was on the stream. These are from Icon Collectibles, the Frazetta Universe. So basically Masters of the Universe style figures, 5.5 inches tall, $38 a piece. They had revealed Death Dealer and Conan. We also got John Carter of Mars, and I think the John Carter one is my favorite one. It's just, I don't know. It is really, really cool. I don't think I'm ordering any because of the price tag, and I'm trying to slow myself down in 2026 on that kind of stuff. Especially because I backed something at the end of last year that was a fair amount of money. But these are really cool. These are really cool, really fun. But I wanted to show off the John Carter one because I didn't get to last time. Okay. Raimi got a antique history book from 1913 on South Asia, written in Dutch. Yeah, that would be tough. I suppose at some point you're going to be able to sort of take your phone and just scan over and it'll translate as you go or something. So, Man of War says Welsh is like someone threw together about 10 used Scrabble sets. Yeah, and the thing with Welsh and Irish is the way that they use different pronunciations for letters. Like Sioban is pronounced Siobhan. Well, why not spell it Shavon? Why do you need a BH for a V sound? One of the versions, was it Wade Giles? One of the versions of Chinese is the same way, right? So Peking. We all used to say Peking. That was the capital of China. And then they changed the name of the capital to Beijing. No, it was always Beijing. In Wade Giles, a P is pronounced as a B, and a K is pronounced as a J. You're going, well, why not just use a B for a B and a J for a J? What the heck? So it was always Beijing, but it wasn't pronounced correctly because of the Wade Giles system for transliteration of Chinese. It's could we just clean up Irish and Welsh so that you just use the normal pronunciations of letters so we could figure out what the hell you're talking about? It'd be nice. I mean, I don't know. It's probably because they're PO'd at the English, and I can't totally blame them for that. So, Raimi gave up on learning Gaelic. Yeah, I never even tried to learn Gaelic. So we got that and those are available for pre-order right now. And it's every time I see that John Carter one, I'm like, I mean, I could, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I will bring this up again as well. This week, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, the facsimile is coming out. $20 price tag, which is honestly, a little bit steep. A little bit steep. I think they could have stuck with like the $15 price tag, but they are doing one with Alex Ross's version of that image on the cover, which is pretty cool. I plan to get one of these. I might get the Alex Ross one. If they were cheaper, I might have gotten both, but it's the art, the interior art is just awesome in this thing. Awesome. And I'm like, I want one that's nice and clean. I got a vintage one. I'd like a nice, clean, newer one as well. So I'll probably grab that one just for the Alex Ross art, but that's coming out this week. So Wednesday, I suppose they'll be available. I saw this pop up, 4K ultra high def, which I don't really care about, but it's a good example, a good excuse to talk about movies. So in 2026, and they haven't announced a date yet, Forbidden Planet getting a high def release. Forbidden Planet is rad. I mean, you got Leslie Nielsen as the hero. You got the robot. It's an interesting story. You have, why am I just now blanking on her name? Oh, geez. Anne Francis. Sort of introducing the miniskirt, although frankly, I've seen the miniskirt introduced in sci-fi before that, but really cool. And I like to think of it as one of those, I'm trying to remember Anne Francis's name, and it's right there on the poster. I like to think of it as a prequel to the original Star Trek series. Obviously not in terms of in-universe as part of the story, but like, this is definitely one of those movies that helped create the look and the content, the subject matter of Star Trek. I think Outer Limits is another one. And Outer Limits, of course, a lot of Star Trek actors worked in it. You had, what's his name? Wash Young did a lot of the monster designs, and he would go on and do, I believe, the Gorn. He designed the Romulan Warbird. He didn't get credit for any of it because he wasn't part of the right union. So, but he did a lot of amazing work. He also worked on Fantasia, making models. He did the models of the hippos and alligators that those animators used when they were animating those sequences. Very talented guy. But that's coming out pretty soon. Definitely worth a watch. If you've never seen Forbidden Planet, you definitely want to see that, especially if you are kind of a Star Trek fan. You should definitely see that one. So that's coming out pretty soon, 2026, but nothing concrete has been announced. Hot Toys is too rich for my blood, but I did want to show off. This is their Indiana Jones from Temple of Doom. It's due for release the first half of 2027. 1/6 scale. Now, of course, due for release means you might get it around 2029. Probably you'll get it this century, but I know with Hot Toys, it can be iffy. $310. But it is a really good looking, sculpt of Harrison Ford. And in a movie that, we're pointing a finger, scoring at Man of War. Hold on. I hit Barnes & Noble New Year's Day, 25% off sale for some board games. Did manage to pick up a replacement paperback size trade for Watchmen that I lost in Katrina. I know, that's crazy, right? And Kingdom Come, which I have never read. I liked Kingdom Come. I liked it. Kingdom Come was kind of prophetic because, yes, it's about the old DC heroes and this new generation of heroes that are really just, they're not even really heroes. They just fight and fight and fight and fight, right? They're all anti-heroes at best. And this world, and what it really is a commentary on what was happening in the comics industry. And this sort of desire for the old, truly heroic characters to reassert themselves, and not just reassert themselves over these young, super violent like characters, but to reassert their own original identities from what they had become, because they had become, Batman's this old guy who's, got bat robots, in Gotham, because he was like, he was still fighting the good fight. But like the Flash is now always at super speed, never slowing down. Green Lantern is like just sort of removed from humanity, as was Aquaman. And it's sort of like, you guys have all sort of abandoned your post in a way. And now everything's going to crap. And we need you back. And you need to find yourselves again and what you really are. It's really kind of a cool story. And you got the Alex Ross art, which is freaking amazing. But it's very telling. And it's also prophetic about some of the stuff that's going on in the world today, with institutions that are supposed to be doing particular jobs, not doing those jobs anymore, and creating a power vacuum that's being filled sometimes by folks who aren't that great, and maybe we all need to reassert ourselves again in society to sort of, calm things down and make things right again. So Kingdom Come's a great one. That's a really good one. The Marvels one too was good. That was like the Marvel universe from the eyes of the guy on the street, and specifically a photojournalist, who starts covering this stuff during World War II, when Human Torch, Submariner first show up, and then through the 60s, and et cetera. It's also a good one. And of course, great art, from Alex Ross in that one as well. But yeah, a cousin of mine, it wasn't Katrina, it was a different storm surge, but he lost his entire comic collection to it with flooding. He lives in the Tampa area. And I remember when that happened, I was like, I've never thought of that. That how many, vintage comics and stuff like that gets just wiped out in these disasters that hit. I mean, you all know that like people can have a house fire or something like that, but you're going, how many vintage comic books in like the Tampa area were wiped out at that moment, to create that kind of scarcity, man. But I'm glad you got the Watchmen back, which also has some interesting things to say about society. And I know people argue over who the good guy really is in it and not. I've actually, honestly, I've never read it. I'm aware of it, but I've never read it. But the best line, they fear me more than they will follow you. Yeah. I haven't read Kingdom Come in a while. I got it on the shelf back there. I might need to grab that. But speaking of maybe underappreciated, Temple of Doom is, I think, a pretty solid flick. Now, I know Lady Wendelin is not a fan, but when I was introducing my daughter to the Indiana Jones movies, obviously going to watch Temple of Doom, and I told her, yeah, a lot of people don't like this one as much. And I remembered not being that into it either when I'd first seen it, but it had probably been I'd probably gone like 20 years since I'd seen it last. So we put it in, and I actually liked it more than I had remembered. Maybe it's because of my age or whatever, or I wasn't coming in with as many comparisons to the other movies, but there's actually a lot of good stuff in it. And I think it's actually the most like the movie serials that inspired Indiana Jones of all the Indiana Jones movies. It's the one that feels the most like it could have actually been a movie serial from the 1940s in some ways. Of course, in others that, they would have filmed it differently, put it that way. You wouldn't have probably seen a beating heart, in a 40s serial. But at any rate, hey, Finn's the spook. It's the goth kid of the trilogy. I love it. Yeah. It is. That is very true. But it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. And I enjoyed it. And that's a pretty good, representation, but $310. All right, if I was a billionaire, why not? I saw a picture the other day just an old image that Dick Sprang had drawn of the Batcave. And it's like Batman and Robin looking down on the Batcave, so you see all the stuff. And it was one of those kind of like, showing all the different things. And I was like going, if I was a billionaire, if I was a multi-billionaire, I'd build a Batcave. I'd build a replica Batcave. Because why not? Like, why not? If you're a multi-billionaire, I mean, I know a lot of that money's wrapped up in whatever businesses you're doing and stuff, but you're going, like, why not build a replica of the Enterprise? Why not? Why not? You build a big saucer section on ground level, and then you dig the rest of it down, and obviously you could fake it a little bit, like, you don't have to have the whole full neck, but, just to get down to like other, but even if you just did the saucer section, because that might be where engineering is anyways, $1 billion, if you got billions and billions of dollars, you could build something like that and not even miss the money, especially if the money's still rolling in like Elon Musk's. I mean, like, dude, but I want to build a Batcave. But if I was a billionaire, I might also buy one of those hot toys. Maybe even 2 or 3 of them. Oh, she screams annoying kids. Yeah, no, yeah. She does, but on the other hand, you're like going, yeah, but wouldn't you be? Some of us, we like look at ourselves as the hero, but then in reality, it's like, yeah, if you were going through the stuff that they're going through, I'd be screaming my head off probably. I want to pretend I'd be as cool as Indiana Jones. It's kind of like the old Charlie Chan movies with Matt and Moreland, where you're going, Charlie Chan's son is very bold. Like, he wants to rush in and investigate the murders and everything like that. Now, Charlie Chan's he's bold, but he's like not young and foolish. But Matt and Moreland playing Baltimore Brown, I think it's Baltimore Brown. He's the real character, number one son, number two son is like, hey, somebody just got killed in there. Let's go see if we can catch the killer. And he's like, somebody just got killed in there. I'm not going in there. Are you kidding me? Like, that's insane. I'm getting the hell out of here. Love those characters. So she screams a lot, but you're going, yeah, but on the other hand, probably all of us would have been. But there is some great stuff in there. And I'll tell you what, the minecart thing that got redone so many times, in cartoons and whatever, isn't even like remotely the best part of that friggin' movie. The bridge scene is awesome. I remember my daughter and I loving the bit with the wall. Like, well, no, it was like a brick wall thing, and it was like poison gas, and basically she needs to get him out of this trap, and she's not doing that well at it, and he's freaking out a little bit. It was funny. There's a lot of good stuff. Warner Oland, Charlie Chan fan. I like Warner Oland. I'm more of a Sidney Toler one just because of the humor. He's a little bit funnier, but the Warner Oland stuff is really strong too. Those are great movies. Those are my sort of one of my go-tos for when I have, I'll say insomnia. It's not necessarily insomnia, but just sometimes the brain won't stop and I can't get to sleep. Sometimes it's because my sinuses are going nuts and I can't breathe. And I'll get up, go out, and put on like a Charlie Chan movie. I've seen them all like a dozen times probably now. It's like a good way just to sort of slow my brain down and then maybe fall asleep, which I could have used a couple nights ago. Indiana Jones is definitely a trilogy. That about that. Donald Duck Legacy number 389 from Fantagraphics is coming. The Search for the Golden Pineapple, which apparently pits Donald and Uncle Scrooge against one another. Don't have a lot of info on this one yet, but that is something coming up. Love that they're keeping some of this stuff. Now, this is not a Carl Barks one. It's, I want to say it's an Italian artist, but some of the greatest comics ever made are Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge type stuff. Really, really great stuff. I'm glad those are still out there and getting made. Reminder. Some McFarlane figures up for sale January 7th. I want to say it's like noon Eastern time. And there are some cool ones in here. Don't know about pricing yet. Don't know where you can get them. And it's McFarlane, so I don't know if you can get them because sometimes it's a little bit weird. But we got Blackhawk, which is, if I was going to buy any of them, I think it would be this dude right here because that is a really cool looking figure. They did a really nice job on that. You also got Elongated Man, and apparently there's going to be him in a different costume as well. You've got Zatanna and Detective Chimp. The Zatanna's okay looking. I'm not real impressed with it, but Detective Chimp, like, come on, can you just sell that separately? I want Detective Chimp. We got Professor Pig, who I know nothing about, kind of after my time. And we got a version of Cosmic Boy from one of the, the later stuff. Everything has got to be one of 4,000 different versions of the characters, and I can't follow them. But Cosmic Boy's kind of cool. I like the Legion of Superheroes back in my day. For sure. Oh, Star Wars is also a trilogy. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, Raimi was saying the Duckverse in Disney is a must read. Yeah. And I don't have very much of it either. Really don't. And it's, if I had space for books, I'd start buying some of the Fantagraphics ones and getting them on bookshelves and reading them. But as it is, I got some comic strip books sitting back there that I haven't read through yet. There's just too much good stuff. It's a good problem to have. So anyways, that's coming out January 7th. So if any of those appeal to you, you might want to check it out. I'm guessing the $28 range for those. But again, sometimes it's real tricky to get them. And I did see this coming to 4K Ultra High Def from Lionsgate soon, Rambo 1 through 5. So if you're into the mood for some old school action flicks, there you go. Again, not really sure in terms of timing, pricing, all that stuff, but it's just something to keep your eyes open for, hopefully coming pretty soon. Remember Rambo kind of cheesed me off. I was such a weird kid. And I think I mentioned this when we were looking at the Christmas catalog a few weeks ago. Like, I was an Army guy. I loved Army stuff and Air Force and Navy, whatever, but military stuff as a kid. And I love stuff that looked realistic, which is why the original G.I. Joes I thought were really cool because they sort of looked like real military stuff would look, the colors, and later on they all become like superheroes. But I kind of dug that. And then Rambo shows up, and all of a sudden, like, the military toy page of the catalog has got like headbands and bow and arrows on it and stuff, replacing like stuff that kind of really looked military. And I remember as a kid, I was like, man, screw this Rambo crap. What is this garbage? This doesn't look like the military. But I can appreciate it. No, I can appreciate it now. So maybe Rambo is also a trilogy, Raimi. 1 through 3. I don't even know really about the 4th and 5th ones. I assume they came later. I like how the image for the 5th one is completely blurry and you can't even tell what it is. I don't know who pulled this. I just found it on Twitter, but at any rate. So just a couple more things to go over. The only new movie that I've watched recently here in the last week or so that was worth talking about. Little something from the Shaw Brothers, 1969. Temptress with 1,000 Faces. I had a copy that I downloaded sometime in the past. Sitting on a thumb drive, I was doing a big reorganization of comic books. So I had all the boxes out on the floor, moving them around. It took me like probably 2 or 3 hours. So turn on my old TV set back there, put the thumb drive into this thing. What do we got? And I'd watched a movie before this. It was an old Tarzan movie. It was not very good. So it just rolls to the next movie. Temptress with 1,000 Faces. Obviously it's in Chinese. There's subtitles. Like, all right, whatever. I'm working. It's cool. So here's the crazy thing. It is a remake of Fantomas, which I only saw last year. So if I'd watched this thing earlier, I would not have known this. But it is a remake of Fantomas, the French movie, which was about, I think, 5 years earlier. They swapped the sexes though. So now the temptress is in the Fantomas role. She can change her appearance. And the reporter going after her is a woman. And then she's got a photographer kind of boyfriend who's a guy, so they switched everything around. It was actually pretty damn entertaining though. A lot of the scenes are pretty well duplicated. Some of them are different. It's a little more risque. They're definitely going for more sex appeal in this one. And it's also a bit more violent. It's not as funny, a little more violent in terms of the fight scenes. Of course, you got martial arts in it, which you don't really have, in Fantomas. There you kind of see her kicking some butt there. It kind of looks like ninjas. I don't know if they really were ninjas or not. And there we go. I think that's the reporter and the temptress. But at any rate, just kind of a surprise movie for me. But it was fun. It was a fun movie, I got to say. I was doing other things at the same time, and it's subtitled. I already know how Fantomas goes, and let's be honest, most movies, you can watch a lot of foreign language movies, basically know what's going on, even if you don't speak the language. You look at the characters, what they're doing, the looks on their faces. And this is an action sort of movie, so it works. But yeah, that's the only new movie I've really watched that I liked. I started watching an old movie called China Girl with Tierney in it. The lead actor I just didn't like. It's like he was doing a bad impression of Clark Gable. So I turned that one off, didn't finish it. And I started watching The Sins of Jezebel, which is like a biblical movie. Paulette Goddard playing Jezebel. Joe Besser is actually in it, which is bizarre. But that one I was kind of watching for a few nights, like before bed. It just wasn't working. It kind of looks cheap. It was when the epics were a big deal, but you got all these sort of cheap versions of things like, Cleopatra and the big, Ten Commandments kind of big stuff. It didn't do much for me. So Temptress with 1,000 Faces, though, that I actually liked. I've been searching, Raimi says, for a good copy of Sonny Chiba's Golgo 13. I didn't know he did a Golgo 13. Dude, that is a brutal friggin' anime. Holy moly. Man, I threw that one on not knowing at all what I was heading into. I was like, there's some really rough scenes in that thing. Yeah, like, I think the one I watched, early 80s, because they put a little bit of, or maybe even mid 80s, because they got some computer animation in it for like a helicopter, some really early computer animation that doesn't mesh really well with the more traditional animation, but that's when they were starting to get into that kind of stuff. But yeah, Golgo 13. So Sonny Chiba did it, like a live action. Oh, okay. Oh, The Professional. Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't realize that was, okay. Interesting. Yeah, that would be worth watching. It is. It's a good anime. It's solid, but it's like, some of the stuff going on in it, you're like, holy crap. You forget sometimes how far, even the stuff that the Japanese did that was more kid-oriented, goes a lot further than what we did that was kid-oriented. I mean, hell, that goofy kaiju movie I talked about last year. God, I can't think of what it was called now. But it was like the fat monster. It's about a fat monster who they build a giant outhouse for at the end. It's a bizarre movie, but I actually was very entertained by it. But it had stuff in it where you're going like, oh, that's kind of weird for a very obviously kids movie. So there we go. Temptress with 1,000 Faces. End to end. My favorite thing that I found on the internet this week. Obviously, I am a patron of the arts. very interested in classical art, painting. You know, we get so much stuff now that's digital or what have actual acrylic on canvas. I like to promote these kind of things. So I found an art piece posted by artist Travis Chapman that I thought the world should get to see. I wanted to get it out there. And it is a raccoon lighting a hippo fart with a lighter. And I just thought that was important to get out there. No, honestly, this came up on Twitter. You see, Man of War, this is what you're missing if you're not on Twitter. I'm just scrolling and I'm like, got to scroll back. Is that what did I just look at? Now, there is a video you can find on YouTube of a hippo farting. If you are unaware, hippo farts are among the most legendary in the animal kingdom. They also, there's a little solid matter involved. It's not pleasant, but it is an amazingly long and loud fart. So this tracks. This, I think, would be somewhat what it would actually look like if you lit one of those things. Now, apparently there's a companion piece because this involves like a war between the raccoons and some other critter. I can't remember what it was now. So I just wanted to leave everybody with Travis Chapman's raccoon lighting a hippo fart on fire. I think that will do it for this first stream of 2026. Well, we kept it just a little over an hour. Not a lot of stuff to report on this time around. And frankly, I am dead friggin' tired. I'm going to probably go out and put on something stupid that I can watch and fall asleep to. I'm just wasted right now. And I got to go to work tomorrow. My vacation is over. But I hope 2026 is treating everybody right so far this year. Thank you for everybody who popped in to the chat. Of course, the lovely Lady Wendelin. But we got Ramey Butler in there. We got a little drive-by by Finn's the Spook. Always love to see Finn's in there. And Man of War 665, the neighbor of the beast. Love to see all you guys. Hope you're having a good year so far, which I think I already said. This is how tired I am right now. I'll finish up by saying, I hope you're all having a good, no. But at any rate, let's close this one out. God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. I hope the Venezuelans, I hope this comes out good for them. Let's all keep those folks in our prayers. They have gone through some really rough years, and I hope things get better soon. And I hope I see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye, folks.